ramble about Special Ops. If you've watched the last video about Alliance Trial, it is similar, except obviously we can't borrow heroes. I am on my smaller account to play with smaller heroes so that we don't have the same conversation about big heroes having big scores. This Special Ops is deployable a purple or yellow. And as I mentioned in the last video, you want to try to use as many of the same color as possible. So depending on who you have, you'll want to go either all purple or all yellow. If you don't have that, we'll talk about that in a second. I do have all yellow. So basically what I'll set up in order is Myers on the outside, Lady M will be on the other side because neither of them are really attack, they're just there to buff. I will then put Lee, Ironclaw in the middle, Mantis next to him, and stick Lady M at the end there. The reason for this is because if you click into Ironclaw, you will see one of his hero buffs affects adjacent heroes. You go into your hero, click on that, click on hero skill, and you'll see his 4 special skills down here. Excuse me. The last of which you'll see increases his own and adjacent allies' defense by almost 50% for 5 rounds. So we'll put him in the middle so that he is buffing the defenses of my other 2 attackers, hopefully to keep them alive at the end when needed. Now, I'll put them back in the order I had, and we'll talk about if you don't have Lady M, for example. That'll go a long way. I suggest that you save some materials, some boxes, and use those in the off ace week and get Lady M, even if she's a +0. Just takes the 10 frags to get her. All you're really using her for is her stun ability, and also she takes away the negative effect that Myers gives you, which you know when you use Myers, he will sometimes cause your heroes to miss, but if you use Lady M before him, it erases that. So the only thing Myers will do at that point is to increase your attack. If you don't have her, you can use Eve. Eve will also boost your attack on your other 4 heroes. So that's what I would suggest, that most of you probably at the very least have those 4 heroes. As you can see, my Lee and my Ironclaw are both just +1. And so they're not really that strong, but it's not what it's all about. It's about using the tiles and having the tiles do the damage for you. Your hero attack is just an added advantage. So we'll get into here, and the only difference with Special Ops as opposed to Alliance Trial, other than not being able to borrow a hero, is the fact that you've got 2 monsters. So you're not going to get those extra rounds at the end like I talked about in the last video. You're going to pretty much just get your 11 turns. You might be able to stun one of the 2 monsters, which can buy you an extra turn or maybe 2. And if you're really lucky, once in a while, you'll luck out with a yellow dynamite at the right time, and you can stun both of them for 1 or 2 rounds, but nothing like it was in the last video where you might get 8, 12, 16 extra turns out of the deal. But you're still looking at your score coming from the power that your yellow tiles have because you have all 5 yellow heroes there. So let's get playing and see where we go. Again, we can count as we go, or we can always hold down on the heroes and we can see that there's 8 left. So I use Lady M first, so that when I use Myers, his negative effect is not on. Now, out of the 3 here, I'm going to use Ironclaw first, just so he buffs those 2 next to it, although it's a defensive buff, so it's not a huge deal. These 2 you can use at the same time because their effects don't affect anyone else. So now we're on turn 5. No, turn 4 will be our next turn. It's a lot harder to play and talk about what you're doing if you haven't noticed, but I am doing my best. Should get one more. And so now it doesn't really matter if you hold down these guys, you'll see what they do. This one rages very slow, deals significant damage to all foes. This one deals significant damage to all foes. So they're basically the same thing. You can see the stun and paralyze effects that they have on them. So they're the same thing. So it doesn't matter if we target one or not. But we will want to remember which one. And it's the one on the right. So I don't forget, I'll target the one on the left just in case I get some random lucky on the board and happen to rage all these heroes again in the next 2 turns. But it doesn't look like it because there's only 2 on the board. Anyway. Doesn't look like we're getting any help, and all of my heroes will probably die. And so I will just use the yellow bomb to get at least one more tile hit. And one of Mantis's awesome skills is the fact that he'll pop himself or others back to life. I forget what the percentage is that could happen, but it does happen and it comes in handy. So that's not a great score at 70,000. I'm going to run one more through because, as I said also in the last video, it only takes one really good round to get your score where you need it to go, or where you'd like it to be. So you're not looking to have great scores every round, because that's not going to happen. Lady M first, so that Myers doesn't negatively affect you. And then these guys. Where you really start getting good scores is getting a nice cascade. You probably have realized that before, but in case you haven't, and sometimes you can affect that, but many times it's a little bit of luck with what your board's doing. So we have 3 rounds left before they're going to hit, so we'll get an extra 1 where we have just 1 enemy attack on us, but it may or may not make a difference. I kind of did that as I was hoping I might get lucky, which I didn't. But I was hoping I might get lucky with some run like that of all the yellows popping through. And this would have happened 1 round sooner, and I would have been able to use that to my advantage. Nonetheless, 160, and it's early in the it's early in the event, obviously, so these scores are all going to change, but we will see how that holds up at the end. I don't think it's going to be top 10, but probably top 30, which will get me a random diamond box. And I have 8 more turns to go. So trying to keep all these videos as short as possible. As always, drop questions or comments into the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them as you go. Good luck, guys.